Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Samuel Banting, has revealed to Joy News that the Bawuku conflict is being tackled assiduously to ensure that the matter is resolved in the shortest possible time in order to avert any further disturbances in the area. According to him, the ministry is rolling out a conflict resolution plan in partnership with relevant agencies to find a lasting peace to the Bawuku crisis. He's been speaking to my colleague Samuel Kojubris.
It's been a hectic start to my ministerial job this time around. Luckily for me, I've been around before when I was a local government minister. That was key to understand the grassroots matter and what's happening. And so with the chieftaincy issues, I quickly got to know that it's a major issue that affects our national security. Indeed, the very day I was sworn in, as soon as I went home, I had a call that tomorrow, the following day, there will be cabinet, but before cabinet ends, I'm supposed to be somewhere, an emergency. And so we left Accra out of the jurisdiction of Greater Accra, and we slept overnight. But we talked till 2 a.m. At least we were able to calm them down. I won't tell you the location because we're still talking. Then whilst we were there, I got a call that you have to go to the north to tackle the Bawuku issue too. So that should tell you that it's not a ministry that you have time to waste or time to think hard. You must have been prepared before you come here. And that is the advantage I have, having been a minister of local government before and having also known the terrain of the country as well as the civil service way of working, so that you just hit the ground and start moving. But most importantly, I believe it's also my own spiritual belief in the power of the Almighty God. In matters like this, you don't just start without prayerful sessions and also understanding that you are not by yourself and you need His Spirit, you need His own agenda, and you also need to commit that you are going to be very honest and direct and be truthful to everybody. And this is what has made me maybe be able to move quicker, because I don't have any prejudices, I don't have any biases. I just want to go in with an honest heart and straightforward approach, and also to understand and listen. In most of these cases, if you don't want to listen, you won't get to know anything. And there are entrenched positions in each one of them, even the ones that seem to be a family matter, where whoever is supposed to be the chief and the other contestant, but if you don't go in and listen, you may be misled by one side. And then you start taking a position and you've messed it up. So that is the terrain I've come into. It's very unpredictable, but it's manageable because of the background I've got and the power of the Almighty and my ability to listen also, and to be humble enough to understand that you are not the solution in the way that you can solve everything, but you facilitate the solution. That's the ministry's job, is to make sure that the chieftaincy institutions themselves, who understand their own customs and their traditions, and you facilitate for them to meet and be able to resolve those matters. That's my approach.
Interesting. With the travels, I'm sure it's afforded you the opportunity to understand the nitty-gritty of issues that contribute to all of these disputes that we do have across the country. What are these issues and how are you planning to resolve them?
The nitty-gritties of those issues sometimes date way back in the colonial time, so you got to understand the history. That's something I have to quickly get through. So if you don't understand the history of the area and how the problem has come to be as it is, you pick up the middle and ignore some people's sentiments, and then you mess up. So one, I have to learn the history quickly, and I've got the advantage of having been in politics for so long that I have a fair idea what's happened in Ghana before. Then secondly, you got to understand the key players involved. Some may have passed away, but they've left some legacies and they've left some words. And you got to understand who are these key personalities and who influence others. So that's another key nitty-gritty. You got to get your head around it. I also realize that you may also notice that whilst they have entrenched position and all that, they are also eager to seek peace. It's an integrity thing that if you don't understand, you think it's all fight, and it's all anger, you won't get far because your mindset is on to problem solving. Yes, it's true, but you got to understand that they themselves are sometimes exhausted. They want somebody to find them the path. And so when there's a new minister who comes in, and I'm new in the ministry, but I'm not new in the terrain, and they know me, and they know that I tackle issues. I don't fudge around it. I don't sweep it under the carpet. My whole life is when my mom taught me that. Actually, I thank my mom for that. She says, Kojo, when there's a problem, try and discuss it. Don't sleep over it. Tomorrow's another day. Don't carry yesterday's problem to tomorrow. So rather than sweep it under the carpet, you got to really understand it. And when you do, no matter how they are in entrenched position, they begin to pull back and listen to you. So those are the kind of nitty-gritties that I have learned quickly. One is the history, two, the key personalities involved, three, also understand their own sentiment that they are exhausted, they want some peace. If you stand outside, you wouldn't notice that they are eager for peace. And I can tell you, when I went to the Mampusi side and I went to the Kusasi side, you could hear the feel of wanting to resolve it. The question is, who leads it? When do we do that? How do we put the issues on the table? Where? What are the timelines? So I keep on, if you heard me on air before in these matters, I keep on talking about roadmap to lasting peace, roadmap. When you begin to put a roadmap, it means they must all be part of the drawing of the roadmap. You cannot sit here and draw a roadmap for them. They must understand that we're heading towards here, to lasting peace, which you both want. Yes, you have your entrenched positions, but as we go along, you must know that you will compromise. You will compromise. I'm also aware that I won't push you so far to compromise on your basic core values. I mean, otherwise there's nothing you are holding. And then they would probably go along because you push them, but they are not happy inside them. So let them hold on to it for a while, but they should also know that there must be areas that they have to give in. It's give and take. So the roadmap to peace is not going to be easy, but it will happen. It's a question of time, and the milestones will reach, and we know that we've hit here, this must happen. If it goes beyond that, then there's a problem. Then we go and untangle what the problem is, then we can move on. You can't just gloss over and say, okay, we've hit the milestone, so the next milestone, where is it? Then there are issues you have left behind. That, if you don't solve it, it's a problem. Let me use the Bawuku one as an example. It's not today it started. And so you got to understand the history. And luckily for me, from the local government point, I do understand it. I used to be very close to the Mampusi, the Mampugo overlord. I'm still close to him actually. As local government minister, I was close to the palace. And then the Bawuku too, I was very close to, if you remember Hawa Yakubu stand. People thought it was a dangerous, but I used to go there with Hawa. Then Adamu Sakande, our late MP2, who's a brother of mine who lived in London together. So I know the terrain of Bawuku also very well. And I know they've lived together for a long time. But the issues flare up now and then, meaning there are fundamental issues you got to deal with. So when I went in there, and for the number one I had to do is to go to the overlord. We know the recent issue of the enskinment of a new, into quotes, Bokunaba, which
when the court has also accepted that the one in Bawuku is the legitimate chief.
It's been gazetted and the Supreme Court has ruled, and so to do that was like, hey, what's going on here? So obviously, national security stepped in and all that. But I had to go there to see, I called him my father, to see what's going on here. And we did have a very, very frank discussion in closed sessions. Very frank discussions. In all this, I could see he was eager for solutions. And he was happy I was on the scene. He says, I know you tackle it. Then I went to Bawuku. But even before I went to Bawuku, I called the Bawuku Nava himself. I said, I've been to my old man. I'm coming to you too. So you see, once you do that, they know you're not hiding anything. You are being straightforward because you have to go there. And I deliberately chose a week after I went to Nalegu. That's a week, not beyond that. Beyond that, people will start misreading my intentions. But within a week, I said, I'm coming. And I did. And they also opened up. And you could also see, although even in their entrenched situation, they were eager to have the solution to the problem. I said, well, we have a common grounds. I'm here to help you come together. It will be difficult. It will be rough terrain. But once you have the goodwill to arrive at the decision of a lasting peace, we would achieve it. And that's how I left them. But since then, there have been few skirmishes. Even last night, there was some few skirmishes.
So I was going to ask you that once you see the need for them to reconcile, like you said, listening to them, it came across to you that they want to find a solution. And you also told me earlier that you don't sleep over issues. So what are we doing? I mean, it's been some days since you went there. Why have we not been able to strike the chord to then bring about that lasting peace we all want? Because Ghana is spending a lot of resources on this conflict.
Yes, haven't gone there. I've been on the phone with them, trying to find a way. Either I go back or they come here. And I'm putting a sketch of a map together, a road map together. I got to present something to them. And so they are aware. I keep them fully aware. So the next stage is for me to link up with all the interested parties on the ground, as well as the interministerial approach of national security that comes in, defense comes in, local government comes in, and of course the presidency. I got to have a debriefing sessions, and they are fully briefed. So yesterday's skirmish came out of the blue, and then I've noticed another angle which I haven't covered. And I'll cover that, which is the judicial angle. That's where the High Court order, you remember, came through. And I hear another one was sitting was done yesterday, and that also caused some skirmish yesterday. But I'm pleading that let's all calm down. I have said that it's not going to be an easy roadmap. So just let's calm down. Let's not take words and interpret it or misinterpret it. Let's listen to reason that we want peace. And can I just say that I am in the saddle now. So yes, you may hear things from outside. Those who are listening to me in the Bawuku area, in the Mamprugu area, all over the country. I am in the saddle. By the grace of God, I have the goodwill from you to work. Let's calm down and allow me some space and the time to get you guys on the table. Try and it's not going to be easy. Try and block other news out of your mind. And if there's a problem, approach me and we'll find a way.
After going there, understanding the issues, what timeline did you give yourself to try and resolve the issue? It's been too long a time.
Well, I'm hoping by the first quarter of next year, we would have come to almost signing a peace deal or a lasting peace. I hope. I am praying that the roadmap I'm putting together with them should see us on the table in the next quarter, which is the second quarter, hopefully by end of June. That first meeting may be difficult, but doesn't matter. We've met. Once you see face to face, that's the first step. Sometimes when you don't see somebody, you think they are difficult to deal with. When you meet them, you may realize that you even have something in common. And so that's the first step, is to try and get them to the table by the end of the second quarter, hopefully. Then we'll then work out in the third quarter the real issues that needs to be brought on the table. What are the core ones that maybe you protect it no matter what? And what are the ones you are prepared to give up? Of course, that is something I'll keep to my chest, because you don't want to disclose what they want to give up too quickly. Otherwise, somebody will think you're not being fair to them because you're giving them the game away. So we need to get that, and that will be the most difficult portion, the third quarter, because then you need to know what are the core ones. Why is it core? Why can't you give that up? And you explain, and you okay, put that one and say that's a core. Hold on to it. It's your trump card. And this one you are prepared to show us. Okay, then let's move with that. So we iron out the ones that the periphery ones. Hopefully by the third quarter. Then by the last quarter of the year, we tackle the main one. The ones that they think is untouchable. Why? Bring it to the table. They also bring the table. Hopefully by that time, we should get through by the close of the year the main issues addressed. Then the first quarter of next year, which is 2024, we will be looking at, okay, from here, how do we plot to end this whole conflict? Why should you keep something and you are giving up something? So this is in my mind what I'm looking at.
Okay. Will it take the lack of the Yana approach where the Asantehene and other prominent chiefs were involved? Is that how you intend to deal with this?
Exactly. That's why I said that I am a facilitator, and I'm just guiding them. I'm in the saddle now, but I'm not the know it and be it all. Chieftaincy matters are not politicians, and we don't understand it in a way that they understand it. The customs, the traditions are in their bosom. It's a dignified institution, and we respect it, and we revere it, and we want them to take the first approach in terms of solving it themselves. So whilst I get this roadmap, as I said to you, it's not just me. It's buy-in from the two factions, but also the houses of chiefs. Okay. And indeed, let me say it on record that I have been in constant touch with the president of the National House of Chiefs regularly. And we've been talking about it. So he would be in one of the meetings as soon as I get the two sides to agree on something. Then he takes over. He will guide me. Maybe we need some eminent chiefs to come in. I don't know, but I think the chiefs would have a solution, because this borders two regions. Don't forget, northeast region, that's the Naregu side, and then the Bawuku side in the upper east. And so, by the way we work, usually would have gone to the regional house of chief for their judicial committee to look at it, but it transcends beyond that. So it basically goes to the national. They would guide me, and then I do the facilitation and the logistical solutions for them.
So we expect that at least it will take us a year to deal with this. Now, only yesterday something happened. Within the spirit from this time to next year, what is the strategy to ensure that the peace in the area is at least maintained till the solution is arrived at next year?
Number one is maintain law and order. That's number one. There are some aspects that border on criminalities, and those will be fetched out, and national security will deal with that firmly. Beyond that, it's also the issue of open communication channels, and let them be aware that it's not a matter just for talking, it's a real action on the ground going, which is what I've been doing, talking and making sure they have their issues brought onto the table. And then get the House of Chiefs also to set up their own operational matters in terms of how they want to handle it, so that they are aware who are these eminent chiefs may be involved. Those are the things that will keep the peace. I believe if national security is on top of it, and we get the National House of Chiefs to also let us have an idea who can be drawn in to help solve the problem, they would then have confidence. Then, of course, we need as I said, the other ministers which I have mentioned to try and also, so they can also be part. At some point, I need to probably travel with some of them to the spot, so they know it's not just one. Yes, I'm the Minister for Chieftaincy, so in the saddle, but I have to work with my colleague ministers.
But Honorable, will we be right to then say that the strategy isn't working? Because just yesterday, there was some sort of skirmishes up there. If they were working, that wouldn't happen. So can we be right to say that this isn't working?
No, really, no, you can't. As I said, it's not going to be an easy road. So these are skirmishes that sometimes may happen because something might have been heard or said somewhere, and people are. That's why I called for calm. That's why I said I'm here. If there's anything, reach out to me. Yesterday was a one-off, I hope. That something has happened. I'm just picking up the details of what really happened, but I hear it's to do with the judicial aspect of it. But we would have a discussion around it and see that is also managed well. So it is part of a very rough road to lasting peace. So I'm not disappointed. I'm a bit disappointed in yesterday, but I'm not saddened in the way that it will disrupt what we are doing. I sort of in my mind know that some few things were not going to go according to the plan, but we'll get back to it. If we get deviated, we'll get back to it. And that's why I call for calm, call for just understanding.
Does Bawuku give you sleepless nights?
It does. It does. It's not just Bawuku. Bawuku does immediately. So it's not just me. The whole government. Don't forget, it's on the borderline with Burkina Faso, and we know the situations in the Mali and Burkina Faso, and of course, national security is our number one job, to protect everybody and protect our borders. And Bawuku being at that center worries all of us. We don't want the situation to spill. But there are others. Yesterday I picked up one in Central Region, which if I don't tackle it quickly too, may also erupt. So you see, the difficulty with chieftaincy disputes is, or the issues are that it's within ourselves, the same Ghanaian people. And we need to talk. We need to be able to understand we are one people. There may be a misunderstanding, but we are in a nation that we want to build together and develop. And so it is worrying to see families fighting against each other and tribes fighting against each other. It's very worrying. And this is where my worry comes from. But once they know that the government is determined to solve it, I think they all appreciate it. I always say that it's also one of the reasons why maybe it's not being tackled the way we wanted it. Last year and a half, maybe my predecessor was not feeling well. I mean, you know, he has not been well, and so basically I have to double up.
Well, you talked about Central Region. We know in Western Region it was even difficult for the House of Chiefs to arrive at a decision to say that this person is president, this person is vice president. I'm not aware if it has even been resolved. Aside that, we know very, pertinent chieftaincy dispute in that region. That region has a lot of these chieftaincy dispute. Central Region has across Ghana. Everywhere you go, you'd find it. It all borders on inheritance, or they call it a family tree. During your vetting, you made mention of coding as a way of trying to deal with that. Where are we with that particular project?
The issues of a chieftaincy may be partly due to the inheritance issue, but also land matters. The one in Central Region is land issues, and in part of the Western Region, land issues too. But the codification is one area that also gives us a worry, because that goes to the family itself, down to even one mother or one father, with a splinter in the family tree. And so we have this codification exercise which needs to speed up, but it's logistics. Who are the royals? Who are likely to inherit? Yesterday, one chief in Central Region said to me, but how can it be if I'm the chief and you ask me to do codification, then I will write what is in my line and forget about it. I said, well, it's not just you. You would be consulted, but I've got registrars there. They're supposed to be professionals. And not just the registrars. We got legal counsels with the traditional authorities. Not only that, we also have eminent people in town who knows, who have lived over the years, and they know who is a proper lawyer, who is not. So we do a lot of research work. That's where the research unit in my ministry is so key, and it needs to be resourced. And so they can get to the bottom of it, and it's all because of resources. That's why the codification exercise has not gone far. Out of over 300 traditional accounts, only 6 have done it. And yes, it sounds like it's too low, but it's because of resources. When chiefs meet, you got to find it. There are sitting allowances, the legal counsels, the transportation. You like it or not, you got to find the logistics, and that's why I call on those who have the goodwill to support me. I know central government is doing its part, but my ministry is not the most resourceful ministry in terms of central government budgetary allocation, but I do appeal to goodwill people and other agencies who can be of help. And it's how to support them logistically. So I'm going to put some speed. I'm hoping by the end of the year we can push this from 6 to about 36 or 40. It's still low, but it will be a beginning. One of the things I also have noticed is through the codification, there's supposed to be a training program where the chiefs and the people understand what we're trying to do and know that it will help them themselves. It's not like one-sided, I'm trying to protect my line of lineage and forget the other one. Otherwise, the fight will still go on. So the training aspect is important, and even the elements of the way the form is designed, if they don't understand it, they cannot even be helpful to you. So it's training that has to happen. Sometimes you see the chiefs need the registrars to help them, or the councils to help them to understand the legal words used, or the legal framework they're operating in. And in some traditional councils, we don't have registrars. There are other areas, there are plenty of registrars. So it's my job to move people around and have the flexibility to let people go and help others. So that is the target, to try and move it to the 40 mark. And then next year will be a full speed, because then others would have been trained, and then we cannot hit the ground running on that one.
Well, some other councils believe that some of your registrars are complicit in some of the things that do happen in these traditional areas. I don't want to mention, but recently, because I'm from a hunter, I've followed how some chiefs in the Hunter Traditional Council have organized press conferences to even call on you to ensure that you remove the registrar there. Why don't you then, because of this foundation or this background of complicity, get a university's research center to then collaborate with the ministry to do this work, which of course will not be, you won't be in the entanglement of having to deal with a registrar who has been accused of being complicit?
Thank you very much. It's a good idea. It's something that I will take on board. The research departments of the universities and tertiary institutions, and maybe sometimes the National Service Secretariat may give us some personnel who may help us, and that's another area that I'm looking at. But in terms of research, it's a good point you've raised. But with my registrars, it's a question of looking at who is doing what, and maybe make changes. I've already told them. I called all my registrars 2 weeks ago to Accra, and I told them the same thing, that I'm picking up signals of complicity, connivances, and I'm zooming into them. Those particular, the Western region, about 3 or 4 have come to my notice. Let me tell you, they may know themselves.